Hey guys, Casual Crono here. In this character development video, we're going to cover Felmina ES. I've had several people request her, and I've used her enough that I think I've kind of figured her out. She has two main characteristics. She has the ability to do an awakened water zone over and over and over again, and she has something called divine droplet state. And I have her geared with kind of mid-game gear. She has the Void Axe right now, which improves type attack, critical rate. She has the Guidance Necklace, which improves type attack. She has a 25 power badge, and then she has Power of Pain series, one with Bullseye, Rose with Thorns, and Insult to Injury, which improves her damage by 10% if I'm attacking a weak point. And she has her grasta, it's not awakened or anything, it just gives her 5 power and speed. So that's the gear I'm going to start with, and instead of describing those two things, I'm going to show them to you on the dummy. And then we'll go over skills and everything. So, if you check the dummy, you will see if you have Felmina ES in your lineup, there's these stacks. Every time a water type attack is made, you gain a stack, and there's a maximum of 50. Her attacks will increase stacks as long as there's a water attack made. Those stacks increase, so instead of 10, I now have 11. If you are in an awakened water zone, then instead of 1, it will stack 10 of these at a time. So you can build up the stacks a lot quicker, but you have to be in an awakened water zone. A regular water zone won't do it. So right here with this gear, all by herself, you'll see I'll do just over 1 million damage. And I have 14 stacks right now. Once you reach 50 stacks, if you use her first skill, Shatter Glass, it will consume all of the ice bursts and it deploys an awakened water zone. So that's your mechanism for having an unlimited awakened water zone. If you use Shatter Glass before it reaches 50 stacks, it will use up all the stacks and you have to start all over. So you really don't want to use Shatter Glass until you reach 50. So let's go ahead and finish it off. There's Shatter Glass. See, went back down to 6 stacks. That was a little more damage than I thought. So 6 million damage all by herself. And let me collect my many silver tokens over the year I've been doing this. So, we need to have an awakened water zone. This is not going to be my mid-game team, however I do have one character that can have the battle start in an awakened water zone. Dunnerith Altar, as long as I have 4 water users. So let's just find some water users. It doesn't really matter who. Let's grab Nero and who else? Rovella. Alright, we have 4 water users now. And we need to eat, because I've used up most of my MP. Because I have 4 water users, I'm going to start off in an awakened zone. This is not a Felmina ability, this is a Dunnerith ability. This is just to showcase these stacks. So we are in an awakened zone. We have it for 3 turns. So now if I hit Torrent, instead of stacking 1 stack, you see it's going to stack 10 stacks. And that's because I am in what's called divine droplet state. If there's an awakened water zone, she gains 100 power, 100 speed, she's less likely to be targeted, and her abilities all get stronger. It only occurs in an awakened water zone. And it says turns left 1, but it reappears at the start of every turn. So Torrent, you'll see when it says in Divine Droplet, the debuff effect and duration increases, basically it doubles. So instead of 25% in power and speed and int reduction, it'll be 50% for 6 turns. And Averse, it says when in Divine Droplet, the buff effect and duration also doubles, and it activates the user's strongest learned unique skill. And then finally, Rafali Glacy, I have no idea if I pronounced that right. When in Divine Droplet, the buff that improves critical rate and magical critical rate and type attack applies to everybody. It grants the user, so Felmina only, a barrier pierce for 3 moves, and it activates the user's strongest learned unique skill. So just simply being in an Awakened Water Zone, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cast Torrent, and the other 3 are just going to attack. You'll see now we're at 23 stacks. If I cast Adverse, I'm going to gain 10 more, plus 1 for the attack. And remember that if I use other water attacks, those stacks will also be increasing. So there's 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, and 39. So here, on the final turn of an Awakened Water Zone, I'm already up to 39 stacks. If I cast Rafali Glacy, I'm going to gain 10 more plus the attack, and that'll give me my 50. There we go. And that means now, when the Awakened Water Zone disappears, first, she no longer is in Divine Droplet state, her power is decreased, and her abilities no longer will stack 10 times. However, we're at 50 stacks, so if she casts Shatterglass now, we are back in an Awakened Water Zone. And we have 3 turns again. Well, if we weren't fighting the test dummy in a real fight, we would have 3 turns, including the turn that Shatterglass is used, to try and build back up those stacks. So I have 2 turns left. If I cast Torrent, for example, I'll get some stacks. If the rest of the team is attacking as well. And it's per attack too, so if one of your water characters has like a 4 times water attack, that's 4 stacks right there. And obviously we did a lot more damage this time around. So that is how you can maintain pretty much an Awakened Water Zone most of the time. Obviously if your characters are stunned, put to sleep, etc., you might miss a turn and not be able to stack as fast. So that's something you have to kind of manage for the fight. But that's kind of Felmina in a nutshell. So let's talk about her skills. Her skill that gets stronger, with each upgrade is this Lame series. I don't know if it's Lame or Lame or what, but it looks like the word Lame, so we're going to go with Lame. And the strongest one, it's a water slash attack on a single enemy. Very, very strong. It reduces water resistance, and that stacks when you're in Divine Droplet state. So basically, when you're in an Awakened Water Zone, you lose your Divine Droplet state for that turn. However, you do attack a second time. And then if the enemy happens to be weak to water, then you attack a third time, whether you're in Divine Droplet state or not. So this could be 3 attacks total. And that Raphael Glacy that you saw me using on the dummy, when in Divine Droplet, besides all those buffs going to everyone and getting Barrier Pierce and stacking 10 Ice Bursts, so it does a water attack, and then it activates the strongest learned unique skill. So it will activate Lame La Instant. So I get 4 attacks total. I get the attack from Rafali Glacy, so that's 1, and I get all the buffs. And then I get the second water type attack. If I'm still in Divine Droplet state, I get a third attack, and then if it's weak to water, I get a fourth attack. So she can do up to 4 attacks by using that one skill. Other skills that are helpful. Averse improves party's physical resistance and gives Cyclone Wind immunity, and the duration and the effect basically doubles. So if you need some defenses, use Averse. Torrent will reduce the enemy's power, speed, intellect. You saw me using it on the test dummy. It can be up to 50%. And you'll notice all of these, it activates the user's strongest learned unique skills. So if you use Torrent, you use Adverse, not only do you get the water attack that it does, you also get the Lame La Instant attack or multiple attacks. Other potential things. She is able to restore her health and mana, restore statuses, and gives herself a damage barrier. And the restore amount and barrier doubles if she is in Divine Droplet state. And then Vaguelet, she can attack all the enemies, not a huge attack, but damage does increase when she's at max health. So she does have a way to attack everything. I tend to use these 3 skills the most because all of them end with using Lame La Instant, so there's really no reason to have this on the skill bar. You're going to cast it when you hit Torrent, you're going to cast it when you hit Adverse, and you're going to cast it when you hit Rafali Glacy. And if you use these skills in another Force Burst, the first attack will dispel Divine Droplet state and attack again. After that, you're no longer in Divine Droplet state, so future attacks, as the AF bar is going down, you don't have that extra power and everything that Divine Droplet state uses. And that is true pretty much no matter what skill you use. If you spam Adverse, for example, in the AF burst, since it activates the strongest learned unique skill, even using Adverse will trigger Lame La Instant, which dispels Divine Droplet state. So in an AF burst, whatever your first attack is going to have a lot of extra damage to it because you're in Divine Droplet state. So just keep that in mind. Let's move on to the free team. So if you have Felmina, who are good characters to put with her? If you're not too far along in the game and you don't have many characters to choose from or really advanced gear, this team can probably work for you. Riz, Cyrus, Aisha, and Sophia are all free characters, and Denny is a very common pull. In my case, I have 98 light just from pulling him all the time. So let's look at this team. Aisha is a free character that you can get pretty early on, and she can put down a water stance. It's not awakened, but at least it is a water stance. It improves water type attacks, and then she has Jewel Concerto, which will reduce water resistance, and Eternal Fantasia, which reduces enemies' power, intellect, and speed. To get pain on enemies, Cyrus has an ability that puts pain on, Water Slash, and it ignores target resistance, so he can be the pain setter. Aside from that, Cyrus doesn't have that much more that he can offer the whole team. He does have the ability to improve power and speed, but it's only for sword and katana users. Riz is a free character from the Riz saga. She's a water user as well, and she can reduce water resistance. She can deploy Water Zone if you need it. She has a water attack that attacks 3 times and improves party's type attack for 1 move. And she also can do a piercing attack on all enemies 3 times. So that's the core. Felmina has personalities of Migland's Palace, Axe, Outlaw, Hood, Ninja, and Water. Early on in the game, unless you have Annabelle, there aren't too many Migland's Palace water allies. So for the reserve characters, I just chose characters that fall into the Axe category for now. Denny is holding the Enhance if Max HP for Axe, Enhance at low HP for Axe, and Power of Rapids Axe, which will improve water type attack damage for all Axe users. Felmina. The enhance at max HP and low HP, as long as her health is at 100% or below 80%, she will get some type of damage boost. Sophia is also an Axe water user. She has enhance if max HP water, so as long as Felmina is at max health, her damage will increase by 10%. And then just for some survivability, 300 health and 50 mana for all Axe users. As far as gear for the team, Felmina was geared as I described earlier. Riz has her True Dark Impaler, Dragon Slayer Brace, and a 25 power badge. 3 Power of Pains, Bullseye, Rose with Thorns, Last Stand. Everything that you can get from Underworld and earlier. Cyrus has his personal weapon, Glimmer Ring, which improves his speed, among other things, and a 25 power badge. He also has the Power of Pain series. The third one is not upgraded. And Aisha is there more for survival, so she has survival-related gear. She has a staff that gives her some resistance. She has the Oriental Ring, which improves both types of resistance. An int badge of 25, though technically you could always give her health and stuff like that if you wanted to. If you are far along in the game, one of the badges that could be helpful for any of the characters is the Eternal Tree badge. You can get it pretty easily, but you have to have gotten to Petal Fall in the, I forget what chapter it is, 108, 109, somewhere up there. It's a really far chapter, but if you can get there, there's a vendor there and you can buy it, and you gain the ability to awaken a zone. So that could be a way to get an awakened water zone pretty early. But since she's survivability, we usually just want to give her health. Well, let's just go ahead and give her a 500 health badge. And then she has 3 grasta, each one giving her 300 health. If you have extra HP ore, you could slap on 900 more health by upgrading all 3 of them. That would give her about 5,600 health. So that's the team. Sidekick-wise, since we have Riz in the party, Iridian with his healing skills is a good choice. It is wind type attacks. You could always use the water Iridian for an extra water attack. It would give a damage barrier, but you don't get the healing unless you give him one of the items that provides end of turn healing. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to stick with wind Iridian. And I really don't have a good free sub-sidekick. They don't really have any auras that particularly help, and the ones that do, Limmel, Tetra example, they aren't free. So we're just going to stick with Iridian for now. And let's see how this team functions on the test dummy. If you don't have an awakened water zone, your stacks won't go up nearly as high. We're going to reduce power, we're going to reduce water resistance, we're going to inflict pain, and she's going to deploy water zone.
How's this?
Second turn. We're going to beef up the team's resistance because we don't really have a tank in this team. We're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and keep stacking water resistance debuffs. At this point, Cyrus has pretty much done what we really need him to do, inflict pain. We can improve his own damage, and then we will reduce the enemy's power.
Go.
Now we have 17 stacks for Felmina. I think I might have misspoken earlier. I noticed, who was it? Wormfang attacked 3 times but only gave 1 stack. So maybe it's just per water move instead of per water attack. So what we're going to do, we're going to blow the AF gauge and just try to get in as many water attacks as possible to try and get as many stacks as possible. This is turn number 3. We're starting with 17, so let's see how many we can get in. If you don't have a way to awaken the zone, this is probably going to be your fastest way. So we're at 32 stacks, 36, finally starting to slow down a little bit. So we went from 17 to 42 stacks. If Iridian's move would count, we'd probably be at about 45 stacks now. So it is turn number 4, so some of the debuffs are going to start wearing off.
There.
And while the test dummy only lasts for 5 rounds, you can see that we're at 46. If each one does a water move, we'll be at 50, which means as soon as turn 6, she could awaken the water zone and become much more powerful. So we'll go ahead and finish this up. And there's our 50 stacks. We still did, what, 96 million damage? Which, again, this is a mid-game team. This is not meant to be fighting super bosses, you know, tier 10, 11 stuff. So let's see how this mid-game team can do against a mid-tier super boss. One note, if you do pull Felmina ES fairly early in the game, her Shatter Glass does not take any mana. And it still attacks all enemies, it still does damage. So you have an instant farmer who does not use up any mana. So just a little thing to think about if you happen to get her early on. The boss we're going to try with this free team is the Sinus Aestuum 20,000 BC. It is a boss that is weak to water. So we are going to go ahead and do what we did before. We're going to reduce water resistance, reduce, let's see, and set water zone, set pain, and reduce his power. The second end of turn heal is because Aisha has an end of turn heal as well. So we're going to reduce more power. We'll go ahead and improve party's attack type, improve physical resistance. We are going to go ahead and blow the AF gauge and make sure that we redeploy water stance during this time. There it is. Alright, we've hit the first HP stopper. And we're up to 38 stacks. It is turn number 4, so some of the initial buffs are going to start wearing out. We're going to redo Pain. We're going to redo Wormfang. And we will redo Torrent. Next turn, we're going to redo these buffs. I think everything is pretty good. We're at 45 stacks now. And now we're at 49 stacks. One more hit and then we can use Shatterglass. Shatterglass can be used during the AF gauge. So we're going to blow the AF gauge. We're going to do one round of 3s to reapply all the debuffs. And then she is going to Shatterglass during the AF gauge.
7.
The boss is already dead and we are in the Awakened zone now. If the fight had gone longer, she would have been also in Divine Droplet state and therefore doing a lot more damage and able to stack up a lot faster. So for an early game team that might have issues trying to awaken the zone, it's a little bit of a slow process at first, but once it gets awakened, then she can probably keep it fairly, she can keep it awakened pretty easily from that point forward. All of her abilities will do 10 stacks. So, a little bit clunky, no tank, but the team survived and the boss was defeated. That was a tier 9 super boss out of currently pretty much 11 tiers. There's a single boss in tier 12. And now I think it's time to move on to her in a more advanced setting. My advanced team for Felmina includes Ilulu, Melina, Stellar Awakened, Dunrith, Alter, Annabelle, and Zarivo. There are other characters that would be really helpful. I do not have Elseal at all. I think she would be an amazing partner for Felmina. I don't have Mazrika or Jill Funny either, and I think either of those could fit in pretty well. So keep that in mind if you have those characters. I would probably swap out Melina first for one of them. And I think Mazrika would be amazing being a fellow axe user and water user as well. However, this is the advanced team that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and talk a little about that now. She has the Elpis Axe, the Dryad's Necklace, which improves her critical strength, and the Dragon God Badge, which is an improvement of power and reduce of MP consumption. Pretty much the same grasta as before. Once you get the 3 pains, one with Bullseye, one with Rose with Thorns, and the third one kind of upgrade with whatever, you're kind of set for the game for that character. Ilulu has the Dark Spirit Axe, which improves her type attack. Mujima Necklace, over time, damage is decreased, and the Dragon Bond Badge, which gives her health and a regen. And she is built more for survival. She has 600 health here, she has the Sound Body Axe, and she has the power of awakening. As long as you're in an awakened zone, damage for all axe users goes up by 25%. Now, Aestuum could be built for DPS as well, but I wanted to have her have some survivability. I am showcasing Felmina after all. Melina has Toto's Trust Hammer for resistances. Smokedrift Bangle for the same reason. Steely Resolved Badge, 800 health and a hold ground. Her 3 grasta all give her health, 2 of which have been upgraded with the HP ore, giving her 5800. And Dunrith Altar is a pretty good choice if you want an awakened water zone right away. He has the Dark Spirit Katana, which improves his physical resistance, the Destiny Ring because he likes luck, and the Master Badge, which improves his critical rate. I'm personally not thrilled equipping that one. I'd rather give him some health, or maybe like give him the Steely Resolve Badge. But for the time being, it seems to be working, so he has 3 grasta, all with 300 health, all with an extra 300 health, so his hit points are at 5100. For the reserve characters, again, leaning on Felmina's personality traits, Midglance, Axe, Water in particular. Annabelle is a water user and a Midglance Palace person, so she has Almighty Power Midglance and Enhance of Max HP Water. She also has, from Sebastia's lab, Resonant Power Shadow. For every shadow ally in the front row, I think it's in the front row, I don't think it counts the reserves, but it might. It improves damage up to 30%. You need 4 shadow users. And Felmina is shadow, Aestuum is shadow, Melina is shadow, and Dunrith is shadow. So the Resonant Power Shadow is giving all of them an extra 30% damage. And then Zerivo. He happens to be an axe user, so you could have any axe user back here. Enhance at max HP, enhance at low HP, and Power of Rapids Axe, since he is also a water user. Sidekicks. Limmel is pretty amazing for sword, katana, axe users. Their damage will keep improving. It stacks 5 times. And Tetra is in the background as well, if nothing else for his aura. If I really need the healing, I can always swap him in instead of Limmel. But Dunrith is a tank, so he should be taking damage and healing the team back. So that is my water team, and let's go see it in action. We're going to do the Mysterious Chaos Ogre hard. I do not have anything upgraded, so I'm not getting any bonuses or anything like that. Because I have 4 water users in the front row, I'm going to start off in an awakened water zone. The boss has a barrier. Because the curse does damage, Tetra's aura is going to kick in after the first turn. So we start off with 10 stacks. Torrent, because we're in an awakened water zone, will add 10 more. We're going to inflict pain. We are going to reduce physical resistance. And we are going to go ahead and inflict rage and gain counterattack. They're not going to do any damage right now because of the barrier. Dunrith Altar has a counterattack that heals the team, both health and mana. So here we are on turn 2 of an awakened water stance. Remember that Raphael Glacie grants the user a barrier pierce. So I could attack right now and start doing damage directly on the boss. I am going to instead... I don't know, I kind of like the idea of doing that. Yeah, let's just stick with the original plan. So, we are going to improve the party's physical resistance, cyclone wind immunity, reduce slash resistance. Instead of singing, we are going to do 1 water attack and reduce type resistance. And I could give the team a shield, or I could reduce water resistance and improve water attacks. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the shield right now.
Take that! Listen! Listen!
We are now at 40 stacks.
Oopsie daisy.
Which means basically 1 more attack from Felmina and we'll be at the 50 stacks we need to redeploy the Sacred Water Stance. So we check our debuffs, we still have pain and everything. So we're going to go ahead and attack with Rafali Glacy. Since we are in Divine Droplet state, I will get Barrier Pierce for 3 moves. And remember that it can attack multiple times. So we'll go ahead and attack, start singing, and attack. There's 1, 2.
Hey!
So thanks to the Barrier Pierce, the boss has lost quite a lot of health. Now we have to Shatter Glass. So we double check our buffs and everything. Let's go ahead and rebuff Purgatorium. We are no longer singing, so we'll go ahead and get that going, and we will redo the counterattack. We are now in an Awakened Zone. The boss is mad because we hit its HP stopper. Since we know the boss is going to try and kill the team here on this turn, trying to do stacks for Felmina is kind of pointless. We want to make sure that the boss dies right away. If you blow the AF gauge, remember that Rafali Glacy gives Barrier Piercing when in Divine Droplet state. If I use Averse or Torrent first, it will dispel Divine Droplet state, and I'm going to be forced to go through 17 stacks of barrier before getting to his health. So I want to cast Rafali Glacy immediately. So I'm going to blow the AF gauge, hit that first, that will Barrier Pierce, and that will probably kill the boss right away. And then I can just have some fun with the others. As for the others, it doesn't really matter at this point what I attack with, so I am just going to attack with their first skills. So that should Barrier Pierce, and you can see the boss's health is already gone. And now I spam whatever else. So if there was a boss that had a lot more health and you needed a Barrier Pierce, don't spam and build up the combo bar for a while and then switch over to Rafali Glacy, because you're no longer in Divine Droplet state. It won't Barrier Pierce for you. I've made that mistake a couple of times.
The wolf who feasts upon the dead. Their visage a signal to praise
Her
untimely
EX
end.
move
There will be no gift
is
of
pretty
moments of
cool.
light, nor evidence left of their fading light. Yes, witness.
and I
indeed.
believe
For now
it
you
stacks.
for all eternity.
I don't know if we'll see because the boss is dead. But I believe her EX move is supposed to stack a whole bunch of those stacks as well. So if you need 50 stacks right away, try to do her EX move as quick as possible. But that is an example of how this team can handle higher level super bosses, and an example of how her barrier piercing can work both in the AF gauge as well as just regularly. In summary, if you pull Felmina ES, she's an extremely powerful character, particularly for water teams. She can awaken the water zone an unlimited number of times. She is extremely powerful and does a lot of damage, especially when built for it. And she can barrier pierce. So, I mean, what's not to love? There are a few tricks. For example, as I mentioned, when you're blowing the AF gauge, you have one opportunity to use the Divine Droplet effect. So make sure you choose the right skill on the first turn. And you do need to build up her stacks. If you pull her early in the game and don't have a way to awaken a zone, probably your best way is using her EX move, which I just looked up. It does stack 50 stacks on the enemy. She's an awesome character. If you have a water team, you definitely want to use her as much as you can. So I hope some of this helps you if you happen to pull Felmina and aren't really sure what to do with her. But congratulations, you got a really lucky pull. So hope this helps. Casual Crono, signing out.